So is it Godzilla or Zilla? According to Keith Aitken, one of the people that worked on the Godzilla the Series cartoon, and who met with Toho executives, TriStar owns the right to this version of Godzilla under the name of Godzilla internationally outside of Japan indefinitely. So while their rights to create new movies and TV shows and so forth has expired, their right to re-release their movie and cartoon has not. And they did just that in 2014 under the name of Godzilla. And even though behind the scenes in Final Wars they might have wanted to have the American Godzilla in it, legally speaking, Zilla and Godzilla are two separate creatures. That being said, any new incarnation of this creature will always be Zilla. Ever since 2003, 2004 or something, it's always going to be Zilla. I don't think that Toho is going to license out anything with this design with the Godzilla name attached to it again. With all of that being said, I do understand why a lot of the fans didn't like the 98 film. They took away its atomic fire, replacing it with flammable gas that didn't even ignite from Godzilla. It ignited from something hot in the area, like a exhaust pipe or something. It was a giant chase movie where most of the destruction happened off screen. They changed his design, which I actually kind of don't mind the design change, honestly. If you're going to do a modern day take on something that's basically a T-Rex, make it look like a modern understanding of a T-Rex, basically. And the biggest problem of all is the fact that he died from missiles. Plus, the movie itself wasn't really all that great either. Bad acting, corny dialogue, the CGI didn't really hold up. Even in the new 2014 Blu-ray release where they sort of updated the textures a bit, it still didn't really look all that good in a lot of places, especially in those little baby Godzilla things. They're way too shiny, they didn't blend with the background very well. They're just too damn blurry. To its credit, Jean Reno was a pretty good character, or whatever character he played in there. And a few of the jokes gave me a little bit of a laugh. But Matthew Broderick was horrible, Maria Patillo was boring, and why didn't they just poison the fish? And remember, it was a lot of fish. But even with all those flaws of the movie, it's still not terrible. I mean, there's some bad things about it. It's really not that great. It's not as good as what I remember from my childhood, but it's not horrible either, you know. And I do have a nostalgic connection to it, so. But for as boring as the 98 film was, and disappointing for a lot of people, the cartoon, I think, fixed a lot of those problems. They gave him back his atomic fire. They gave him back the ability to not get killed when he gets hit by missiles. He does get knocked down from them, but he doesn't get killed by them. And he's a lot more eager to fight, which makes the whole thing a hell of a lot more entertaining than the movie. And while some fans will still hate on this cartoon, many other fans give it the respect that it should have, honestly. And it is mostly just a fun action cartoon. It's certainly a lot more entertaining than that new anime that came out, which was boring as hell. But I'm not going to bash on that too much. That's not what this video is about. But this version of Godzilla has some pretty impressive feats, too. He's the same size and weight as the one in the movie, 50 meters tall, 500 US tons. And he can run at least 300 miles an hour. That would give him the kinetic energy of about a ton of TNT. 5% of that can level a house, by the way. And because in the episode Monster Wars Part 3, when he fought Cyber Godzilla, you know, when he burrowed himself in the ground and shot some atomic fire up at Cyber Godzilla, Cyber Godzilla got launched about 75 meters upwards in about 1 second. And when you take a look at the atomic fire's sort of area when he's getting shot, when he's attacking Cyber Godzilla's head there, that would make his atomic fire have about 200,000 psi. A fire hose is only about 150. 200,000 psi might not seem like all that impressive compared to what we see in the Toho Godzilla's movies. However, his heat is hotter than anything in any Toho universe. Now, because he was able to create a supercell in a short amount of time, this would make his atomic fire anywhere from about 148 million to 33 billion degrees Celsius. And I've also seen him dodging an energy weapon going about 400 miles per hour from 45 meters away in half a second, which would mean that he could dodge a bullet at about 90 meters away in that same amount of time. That's crazy fast dodging, which he also had in the movie. He also has the ability to burrow incredibly fast, which the one in the movie didn't really have that, and no version of Zilla that I've seen has that either. Well, maybe the IDW comic can kind of burrow, but not as good as the one in the cartoon. And the cartoon itself is also fairly decent, beyond the fact that it's just an action cartoon with giant monsters beating each other up and whatnot. On occasion, there are some interesting things going on with the characters. On occasion. You don't see too many kids' cartoons, especially action kids' cartoons or whatever, where the characters are debating on whether or not to pursue their career or their relationship more, and where the relationship and the career is always getting in the way of one another. Now, the character development isn't like incredibly deep or anything. It is a kids' cartoon after all. You're not going to get Schindler's List from a Godzilla cartoon, or from an anime for that matter, which I think the Godzilla anime has proven. Well, for a kids' cartoon, it has more to it than what most other kids' cartoons have, with the exception of maybe Batman and Gargoyles and, I don't know, Legend of Avatar or something. I also like a lot of the monsters that we see in the cartoon, because a lot of them are very much sort of, just American cartoon monsters. So you could say it's American Godzilla versus the American cartoon monsters, really. Right? You have the Crackler, which is a really cool design, and he's sort of an electric-based Pokemon. Well, that's what the show pretty much is. But he's generated by a dream. That's kind of interesting. You have the Quetzalcoatl, which is an Aztec bird reptile thing that comes out of a volcano and can fire. He can shoot fire from his mouth. That's pretty much Rodan, isn't it? Yeah, that's very much Rodan. The creature from Juggernaut, however, that's a really cool one. It reminds me of Akira and the South Park parody, which is the first time I was ever introduced to something like that. But I did see the anime Akira. I thought it was pretty cool, too. But yeah, that was a pretty interesting episode, just this thing consuming more and more, tech to become stronger or something. It was pretty interesting. My favorite episodes of the series have got to be, the Monster Wars and Leviathan 4-part story arc, which is pretty interesting. And that's basically their version of Historical Monsters, right? Where aliens come down and take control of the monsters to take over the planet. The Talking Trash, probably because it was one of the first episodes of it that I've ever seen. That was one of the few that I saw as a kid. I saw the rest many years later. I'm not disappointed. There's What Dreams May Come. That's the one with the Crackler. There's also the episode Competition, which features a Robo Yeti, which has many of the same, or many similar abilities to the Hasty Mechagodzilla. It's pretty cool. And again, Bird of Paradise with the show's version of Rodan, which actually has some pretty cool character development in that episode in and of itself, from a new character that is never seen again. Some of the animation and stuff gets a little awkward. It's like the animators could never stay on model or something, probably because they had a short amount of time to do these things. And as somebody that's kind of messed around with animation just a tiny bit as a hobby, I can certainly understand why they would do that if they were being rushed. But overall, it's just a really good series. So I say just, enjoy it. I can understand why you wouldn't enjoy the movie, but the cartoon series, there's nothing to hate on it. It's fun. It's about as fun as many of the movies are. Certainly better than a lot of the Showa era shit. But if you compare it to something like the Showa era Mechagodzilla movie, maybe not as good as that. But it's certainly better than a lot of the things that were happening mid-Showa era. And better than a few of the Heisei and Millennium series films, too. So, peace. And the 98 film and cartoon have a monster in it that are legally to this day still Godzilla. And nothing is ever going to change that. So, peace. Hey, if you like this video, please consider subscribing, sharing, liking, commenting, and if you really wish, you can buy some of this artwork here and more on a t-shirt or a mug or some other merchandise in the link below.